Hello, I'm Lateka Carter, host of Naked and Not Ashamed. Today's show is more personal. For me, I'm the one sitting in the seat, being interviewed, telling my story of what I have been through in my life from my past until where I am today. This was not an easy show for me to do as I began to tell you, help you understand my journey to where I am today. I have special guests that are coming on the show with me today. So what you will see is Miss Shanyelle Foster interviewing me for me to tell my story. And then it goes a little bit deeper. I actually take you along this journey of this show with me and my therapist. There's nothing being hidden here. I am naked and not ashamed. I have made the decision to divorce my past and marry my future. So here it is. This is my disclaimer. Some of you may have been affected by some of the things that I have told in my story. This is not in any way to hurt anyone. This is simply my release to move forward in my life. Again, I have been naked and not ashamed.
I'm naked, I'm naked, I'm naked and not ashamed.
Oh God,
I'm naked, oh yeah, I'm naked, I'm naked and not ashamed.
welcome to the Naked and Not Ashamed with your host, Lateka Carter.
And not ashamed.
Well, hello.
Hello, Miss Shanyelle.
I'm so excited to be here today.
I'm so excited to have you here today doing this with me.
Absolutely. I'm honored. And I want to go ahead and get started. So I just have a question for you.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, I want to get a little personal.
Okay.
Who is Lateka Carter?
Who is Lateka Carter? Lateka Carter is a woman who loves hard. She gives back. She loves her family. She's dedicated, devoted to whatever she puts her hands to do. But most importantly, Lateka Carter is healed.
I like that. Healed.
Yes.
Okay. So speaking of this healing, what exactly, take us a little bit through this storm. What happened?
Okay, what happened in the storm? Let's go back. Some people's storms start at a certain age, adolescent part, when they're teenagers. My storm started 5 years old. 5 years old, I was molested, then raped as I went further, not even to 12 years old yet. Dealt with a lot of those things where it seems to be a lot of sexual assault. It was almost like, do I have something on my head to make you think that you have the right to try to rape me? So I dealt with a lot of that. Got pregnant by the time I was 16. Was not promiscuous. I did like boys. Yes, I did. But I was not promiscuous. I wanted attention only because of certain situations that had happened in my life, not knowing what was going on. By the time I was 18, graduated high school, I went to college, got pregnant again. Stopped going to college, worked 2 jobs. At that point, I was married. Well, I wasn't married. I was dating my baby's father on the way. 19, I got pregnant again.
Wow.
Yeah. By the time 19 came around, pregnant again, I can't do it. Moved out on my own. Of course, he moved with me. So he and I were together by the time I was 19 years old. From 19, we decided to get married at 21 to make a family of what we have.
Okay.
So that's how it started.
Okay. So that was the fast forward version. You do love family. You do give your all.
Yes.
And that is very important. Important enough for you to say that you want to have that family.
Yes.
So you decided on getting married.
Yes.
And then what happens?
Oh boy. After I got married, it seemed to take a turn where what we tried to make happen, we were young, 21 years old. What do you know about raising 3 children? He was 20, I was 21. So what do you know about raising 3 children, I'm out there working the best way that I know how to work in factory environment as that, and having to deal with that were a lot of arguments because he didn't know what love was, and neither did I. We were doing the best that we could. I took care of the house. He stayed at home a lot of times, and then things changed.
The tables are always turned.
Oh yeah, they began to turn where he wanted to be a man and provide for his house, so he went out and did whatever he had to do to provide for his house, which caused other things to start happening, where there were more women involved in the whole situation, more things happening out there in the street life, domestic violence, a lot of times being beat on, just a lot of that stuff that was negative.
Okay, so do you think that that was the main cause of your divorce?
No, that one wasn't the divorce. That one was the murder. He was murdered by the time he was 28. And I became a widow at 29.
Were you ready for that, being a mom?
Oh, Lord, no. I had just told him, please don't make me raise my sons by myself because I don't know how to raise them to be men. And I remember distinctly having that conversation with him maybe 2 weeks before it happened. So when it happened, I was afraid. But at the same time, I remember when the police came and they told me that he was murdered, I remember the only time I prayed, and I prayed a lot, believe me, I did. But the only thing that I knew is not that I was prepared for that. It's not anyone could come and talk to me. What do you know at the age of 29 about losing your family, something that's so close to you? And I asked God to please give me the strength to make it through this, the type of strength that you don't even give anyone just randomly. Hardly ever do you give it, but I need that strength to make it through. And he did that.
Absolutely. In between that rage, because it sounds like that's the part that you're at now, is that rage, separation, that non-closure, losing a loved one, raising a boy, goodness knows, raising a family by yourself. Is that what was the beginning of your depression stages?
No, the beginning was before that.
So you were already...
Let me just say this quickly. I remember a year before he was murdered, I prayed to God and asked God to take my life. I said, I don't want to live anymore. I absolutely hate my life. Take my life. And I remember having, sometimes some people, they can actually hear from God. They can have conversations with God. I remember hearing this was, what will happen to your children? And I remember saying, they will be okay. They have their father. He'll take care of them. I had no idea that his time was coming.
Right.
But let me tell you what happened. I remember from that point forward, that was Christmas of 2002. What God did for me was he allowed me to die that mental death of wanting to die. And I started wanting to have more strength to move forward, taking control back of my life, but not really understanding a lot. I quickly took a little bit more control of the situation, but by that time, we were just kind of wrapping things up. Didn't even know that death was coming around the corner.
Yeah, well, God will have a way of showing up and showing out.
Yes.
And we love that, and we appreciate that, and we even love and appreciate you being here. That we need that. We need more of that in our lives. So now that you have lived your life and pushed suicide to the back burners, and depression is no longer this issue, and you have a beautiful family, and these men are no longer in your lives, what do you see now for your recovery, for religion?
What do I see now for recovery? And even with religion is the fact that I understand that God has been in my life since day one. There were a lot of things that happened that I will ultimately turn to him and just ask questions even when I didn't even understand. So there was a lot of seeking him, asking him, what do I do now? Not necessarily making decisions on my own, becoming that person that people will look at as, there's something about her. She's strange. She's not fitting into what we're used to fitting into. And where I see my life now is where I am today, giving back to people to help them through my life story.
Well, good deal. Well, we're going to take a little break. We're going to We're going to come back and talk about that purpose, that mission that you're on.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Lateka Carter, aka Divas Boss Lady. I am the founder, executive producer, and host of It's Your World Radio and the Divas Boss Lady Talk Show. We believe in sharing our platforms with guests from around the world. We allow them to come on and share their stories with you, the viewing or the listening audience. From there, they can offer you the services that they have, as well as help impact your life for change and for the better. We have guests from all over the world that shares in the platform to bring you their story. Their services that they offer to you that will help you in your daily life some type of way. All you have to do is go to www.blogtalkradio.com/It's Your World Radio. And from there, you can see all of the archive shows I've already had and tune into them to find out why we are growing, expanding, and I started the Divas Boss Lady Talk Show from there. I want you to tune in to my shows. Check me out. See what I have to offer, as well as the other radio personalities. You will find that this is where you can find your change.
Well, welcome back. We were talking about this storm, this depression, this move on, this closure. So when exactly did you decide on pushing through this storm of dysfunction?
The storm of dysfunction, and when did I decide to push back? It wasn't until 2011 that I actually began to see I was living my life in a dysfunctional manner, thinking it was normal. I got to the point where so many things happened. I was involved in a marriage that just did not work. We just were not compatible. It got to the point where I didn't care anymore. With the whole dysfunctional, not knowing what was going on in my life, things started happening. There was a strong battle with depression to the point of, I'm done. God, I asked you to take my life before and you did not. I thought I was making it through, but I'm not. I'm still back in this situation where I lost everything again. And I got mad at God. How can you let this happen to me? Did not serve you, did not do this, and did not do that, and just blah, 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 blah. Fighting with God. Yeah. And it's at the point, most of us have been there and done that. So I got to the point where I said, enough already.
Well, he answers all. He definitely answers all.
Let me tell you how he answers mine.
Because you, my lady, you have a purpose and a mission.
Yes.
So go ahead and share that with us.
Yes. With that particular manner, for the purpose, I pushed back from that because I wanted to live. I began to understand that life was a gift, that we all go through things in our life that seem so challenging at that time. You don't feel that you're going to ever make it out of it. But when you get to the point that you understand who God really is, and you understand how your life is at a point of how far he's brought you, you look at how beautiful life was intended. We make our own decisions. We play the blame game, and you get past that point where you have to stop playing the blame game and take ownership of your own actions and forgive those people that you allow into your space and let it go. With doing that, healing came in, and there was my purpose, smacking me in my face. It got to the point where I was pursuing dreams, running into my purpose. So I looked at the fact, if I'm like this, there are so many other people out there like this with me, dealing with this day in and day out, the whole mind battles, the whole battles of raising your children and just going through life. So I decided, hey, okay, it's time to share. It's time to remember that you're not in this by yourself. There are other people out there that need to have help, to know that they are loved, that there's someone out there that can relate and not be afraid to be transparent enough to say, sister girl, I know I can tell you some things. Because see, here's the thing. They look at you now and they think you got it all together, but they don't know that story of that little girl that was molested, that grown woman that was in a bad relationship time after time, and all those things, all that pain. They don't see that because God began to heal me, and I began to carry myself as an example to show it's real. If you're ready to be healed,
That's right.
it can happen for you.
That's right. You have to be accountable for your own actions.
Yes, you do.
So now we are here.
Yes.
We are here. We are moving mountains.
Yes.
So how do you think your story is going to impact and help others?
I believe my story will give way to show other people, not just women, because men go through situations, similar situations, if not same situations. They just handle it altogether differently. I feel that my story will show that life happens, whether we cause it or whether it happens because of the decisions that were made by other people that impacted us. It will allow them to see, what choice will you make in your life today? When will you be ready to own your life, to stand up, to take a stand, to dare to be different, to stand to be counted among those who said, you can't do it. Your mom and your daddy, it's not for you. When will you stand to say, I'm chasing after my dreams. I'm going to run into my purpose. Basically, I'm going to divorce my past and I'm going to marry my future. And that's what I have done.
Well, all right then. Well, I tell you what, you make sure that I get the invitation because I will be right there by your side from day one. I am so excited. So excited. Your story definitely makes the biggest difference. And you're right. It's not just about the woman. It's not just about the man. It's about the people.
Yes.
So if you had to describe in 2 words or 3 words, what is it that Lateka Carter is going to do? What would you say?
I am purposed to make a difference.
I like that. Purpose-driven woman.
I am.
You are.
I am.
That is
From my
fantastic.
core.
That is fantastic. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Other than the fact for people to know that life gets hard. We all go through something that we feel we can't make it through, as I just said. But when you make up in your mind and you have a moment to just look at your future, aren't you worth it? Aren't you worth to obtain those things in life that, hey, those belong to me. I want those things. So make a decision today. Be transparent. Own your own self. Rise to the occasion. Come out of the ashes and live life in motion. That's what I have to say.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me and allowing me to be comfortable to share with you my story.
I got you.
My girl.
We'll be right back.
Back to Naked and Not Ashamed. I'm Lateka Carter. I'm sitting here with my therapist, Tanya Thompson, LPC. Now, Tanya is here as my guest because I wanted her to be a part of me telling my story and that you all will be able to see that I did seek counsel during the time that I was going through. Last year, 2013, I ended up in the hospital being sick. Now, of course, you've already heard my story. You already heard what I went through, what I was faced with when it comes to depression. I overcame a lot of different things, but being in the hospital and not being able to pursue my dreams, it took me to a different place that I had to fight through depression once again. Now, my nurse began to see that I was at a high level risk of depression because of the medications that I was given to help me cope with the things that were going on in my life. I reached out to Tanya because I felt at this point, being in a new city, been away from family, been away from friends, that I needed someone to talk to. So I reached out to Tanya. Tanya was very, very easygoing, someone that I found that I could talk to help me through the things that I went through. Now, Tanya, you're sitting here hearing my story.
Yes.
You're hearing the things that Shanielle and I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
When I came into your office and I began to talk to you, what was your assessment as far as what you could tell on tape?
Well, Lateka, when you first came in, I'm going to tell you what I saw.
Okay.
I saw a woman who appeared to be very intelligent, very driven, had a lot going on, a lot of stressors in her life. But one thing that stood out about you to me was that you realized that you needed some help to get to where you were trying to get to. And I applaud you for coming in and seeking assistance in doing that. But in the middle of all of that, I saw somebody that was on a journey to get where she needed to go. Not quite there, but working hard to get there. And I saw someone who was a little broken.
Yes.
Yeah, so, given those things, I realized that I kind of needed to start there with you so we can kind of talk about what happened to you in the past. Because a lot of times people don't ask what happened. They
Right.
see everything that's going on with you right now, but they don't ask what happened to you. So I needed to start there so we could kind of build upon that so we can kind of move you forward to get to where you want to get to. And you've grown into a lady who I'm very impressed with, and I'm sure others are very impressed with, but someone who seems so motivated for healing.
Yes.
And that's really what it's all about. It's about healing. And so those are the things that I saw when you came in.
Wow, thank you. And of course, this is my first time hearing this
Yeah.
from her, but thank you so much for telling me that, because sometimes it's not that you don't need to hear. You do need to hear when you don't get to hear from other places in your life. For me to get to that point of, yes, I was broken. Yes, I needed help because I knew where I was and I knew the battle that I had to get to that point in my life. What helped me during that process before I came to you was, okay, Lateka, stop blaming everyone for problems that happen in your life.
Okay.
Like I said before, life happened, it didn't happen, whatever the case may be. I had to forgive the brokenness, like you said. I had to forgive and I had to let it go and start working on me. And as I began to start working on me, I began to see what needed to be fixed. I was determined not to go back down that road. I had came a long ways and I wanted to remain in a place of moving forward. There was no more going backwards. So with me being able to sit in your office and talk to you, you actually just guided me. You allowed me to talk. There was no judgment. There was no looks like, this girl is crazy. There was nothing that made me feel you have done this so many times that just let them sit there. I'm going to take my little notes. And there was none of that. It was just like you sitting there talking to someone who is your girl or is your guy or however you want to word it. So it made me feel comfortable because I'm not someone that I don't always tell my business. I have to wait to see if I can tell it to someone that I can trust. And I wanted to go somewhere that I could talk to someone who would listen and give me the guidance that I need to keep me on the path of moving forward and not going back.
And I'm glad you felt that way because I really wanted to create an environment with not just you, but any client that I have where you feel comfortable enough to come in and share what you've gone through without being judged, without having fingers pointed at you, because so many of us go through that in our lives anyway. We're always being told what we did wrong, what we should have done, what we could do better, but I really wanted you to feel that you could do that because I felt that if you could, then that again is part of your healing. It's a part of you being able to move in the direction that you want to go. So I'm so glad that you did that. And you continue to do that.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to have you a part of today's show. And if you had anything that you could tell anyone that's been in my situations, what would you tell them?
What I would tell them is please empower yourself, because you have done just that. You have empowered yourself. And ways to empower ourselves, especially as women, is to not be afraid to look at your past and keep it real with yourself and be honest with yourself. Don't be afraid to say no. Sometimes we're kind of socialized as females to be caregivers, to put everyone before ourselves, but don't be afraid to say no, that you can't do something. And set goals for yourself. Have goals that you're trying to reach in life, which is what you're doing, and work towards those goals daily and live in that. And take some time out to spend time with friends, loved ones, exercise, and get yourself a little massage or things like that, just to kind of take care of yourself. So those are the kind of things that I think as women that we need to be mindful of, because we have some very hectic, busy lives, and sometimes we tend to put others before ourselves, and sometimes we need to just be selfish.
All right, Ms. Tanya, can you tell everyone how to find you out there?
Okay, you can find me online. My website is TanyaThompsonLPC.com. I am localized here in Greensboro. I'm located at 2307 West Cone Boulevard in Suite 216. That sits in a building called Northwestern Plaza, which sits near the corner of Battleground and West Cone Boulevard. You can also reach me by phone number 336-307-5526.
You heard it here. Naked and Not Ashamed. You have it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I don't know about you. I'm glad that's over with. I told you my story. You've got to hear it for yourself. This is a judgment-free zone here. However, if you choose to judge, that is on you. All I know today is I feel good right now. I was able to share with you things from my past. So I took you on that journey from my past to my present to my future. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I so look forward to many more shows with you. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.